I remember the first time I wandered into the park alone. The fog rolled low, curling around the roots and the mossy trunks like slow, living smoke. The faint hum of insects were the only sound, broken only by the distant creak of an unseen branch swaying in a wind I couldn't feel. Shadows flickered as the pale light of my lantern bounced along the tree bark, and for a moment I felt utterly alone and safe. But the forest has a rhythm of its own, a quiet patience that waits for you to notice the wrong thing. I paused to breathe, inhaling the damp air, and I thought I saw a figure just beyond the mist. It wasn't quite human, not quite solid. Its shape shimmered like heat over asphalt, and yet it was still there. I whispered my own name to make sure I was awake. That's when I saw it. Fog clings to the pines. Thick, cold, muffling the world beyond. I stepped lightly, almost afraid to disturb the quiet. A faint whisper drifts through the branches. Maybe my own thoughts, or something else. The trees bend in the fog, dark shapes swaying as if alive. I catch a movement out of the corner of my eye. I blink. Nothing. The air is heavy, almost wet. Every breath feels sluggish, pulled into the forest itself. The hum of insects, once familiar, twists into a low chant. I pause. The fog shifts, curling like smoke around the trunks. Shadows stretch unnaturally, bending where they shouldn't. I step forward, and I feel it. The forest is watching. A twig snaps beneath my foot. It's too loud, echoing as if someone or something mirrors my every move. I turn. Nothing moves, yet the sensation of eyes lingers, pressing into my skin. The whispers grow louder. I can't tell if they're words, or the hollow resonance of the pines themselves. A sudden rustle high and soft, like silk sliding over stone. I spin, lantern ready, heart tight in my chest. Branches sway, but the source remains hidden. A chill crawls up my spine. The fog presses closer, curling around my shoulders, whispering closer to my ear. Each step forward feels heavier, as though the ground itself resists me. Shadows ripple between the trees. I blink. They are gone, but I know they were there. I reach a small clearing. The fog sits like a shallow lake, pale and still. The air vibrates with a quiet hum, not from the wind, not from insects. Something else. I hear it again. A voice, a sigh, a single word, or maybe none at all. The forest feels alive. Every leaf, every branch, every quiet crack of bark seems aware. I take another step, and a shape shifts between the trees. Too fluid, too fast to be human. I freeze. The hum intensifies, settling into my chest. My breath hitches. Each heartbeat thunders in my ears. The fog whispers around me, curling into every hollow. Shadows lean closer. The hum lingers, rhythmic, patient. I try to call out. My voice barely rises. It is swallowed by the thick, wet air. I step forward again. Something brushes past my arm. Soft, deliberate, impossibly light. I blink. Nothing. The forest exhales. A pause. The whispers ebb, leaving an almost unbearable stillness. I am alone. And yet, I am not. A faint movement. A shadow bending toward me. A breath that isn't mine. I walk slowly, cautiously, letting the fog guide me. The pines sway silently. Each whisper, each hum, feels like a warning. The forest watches, and I know it will not forget. I stop. I wait, listening to the quiet swell, the living hum, the faint rustle of something just beyond reach. The fog curls tighter, and I step forward. My lantern sputters. A brief flare of pale light spills across twisted roots. The shadows dance. Shapes linger in the corners of my vision, just beyond clarity. Tall, deliberate, impossible to ignore. I convince myself it's nothing. A soft rustling drifts through the still air. No wind stirs. No branches move. Just a sound barely there, but undeniably close. I take another step. The lantern flickers again. A brief shadow glints from a hollow trunk. A single eye, staring. I freeze. Heart tight, chest aching. The eye remains, not blinking, not moving, just waiting. The pale light bends over the roots, stretching the shapes into something unfamiliar. A curl of mist wraps around my ankles. The earth smells damp, faintly metallic. Every snap of a twig is amplified. Every leaf that shifts becomes deliberate. The forest watches. I convince myself to move. The lantern wavers, as if hesitant to follow. And then, again, the eye vanishes. I blink. It's elsewhere. I step forward slowly. The air hums quietly, vibrating against my ribs. Shapes slip between trees, too quick to track, too fluid to be human. The lantern flickers again, casting a web of light across gnarled roots. Twisted shadows curl in the gaps between trunks. Each flicker feels like a heartbeat, each shadow like a silent whisper. I stop. I listen. The forest breathes around me. A subtle chant hums beneath the rustling of leaves. Something moves closer. I feel it brushing against the edge of perception. A shape behind another shape. A presence that knows my path. The lantern flares once more. The eye, always watching, catches a light for a fleeting instant. Then it disappears. I move again, step by careful step, dragging the light with me. The shadows bend toward me. The whispers rise and fall, soft as silk, faint as breath. I realize the forest has learned me. It knows the rhythm of my steps, the pattern of my heartbeat. A shiver runs through me. I feel both followed and observed, alone yet surrounded. The lantern flickers one last time, and in that brief, trembling glow, I swear the forest exhales. Shadows retreat. The rustling quiets. For a moment, I am alone, but the eye waits, somewhere just beyond the flickering light. Patient, silent, I take another step, and the forest leans closer. The forest floor squishes under my feet. Wet earth, moss, and fallen pine needles. Every step sinks slightly, echoes too loud in the fog. I hear them first, soft, deliberate, footsteps in time with mine. I stop, they stop. A hollow silence stretches between the trees. My breath is sharp in my chest. Every inhale sounds like a shout. Every exhale trembles through the fog. I glance behind me. Nothing, but the feeling doesn't leave. Something drifts between the trunks. Too fast, too fluid to be human. I try to call out. My voice is swallowed by the thick air. It folds into the fog. The footsteps return, matching mine. The fog thickens, curling around my legs, my arms, my neck. It muffles the world beyond the nearest tree. Shadows flicker across my vision, shapes that bend and twist. Eyes? Or just the forest playing tricks? I move again. Careful, slow steps, barely disturbing the moss. The footsteps follow, close enough to feel the pressure behind me. I dare not glance back. A branch snaps somewhere to my left. Soft, deliberate, heavy with intent. I freeze. The footsteps pause, then continue. The air grows colder. I can see my breath curling, twisting, fading. The fog hums softly, vibrating in time with my heartbeat. Every nerve in my body hums with tension. A figure drifts past a tree, shrouded in fog, its outline indistinct. I blink. Gone. And yet, I know it was there. I try walking faster. The footsteps match me. I pause. They pause. I run. The footsteps accelerate faster, mirroring my every movement. A low whisper grazes my ear. I cannot tell if it's a voice or the rustling of the pines. Something ancient, patient, waiting. The fog wraps tighter around me. The trees lean closer, their trunks forming a narrow corridor. Shadows bend unnaturally, stretching beyond reason. I am alone, and yet I am not. I stop again. The fog curls around my shoulders. The footsteps have vanished. Silence presses into my chest. I realize I am trapped in rhythm. Every step I take is followed. Every pause mirrored. The forest has learned me. A shape drifts just beyond reach. I feel its gaze on my back. It is patient. It waits. I move forward slowly, each step soaked in fear. The fog swirls at my ankles. The forest breathes around me. I glance behind one last time. Nothing, but the footsteps linger in my mind, and I know they are still there. Dusk settles over clearing. Fog drifts low. curling between pale, abandoned tents. Canvas flaps sway gently, torn in ragged strips. Light filters weakly through the mist. Shapes appear inside the tents, blurred, fleeting. I blink. They shift, vanish, or maybe were never there. The earth smells damp. Metallic undertones mingle with decaying leaves. A discarded shoe lies in the dirt, toes pointing the wrong way. I can't tell if it was left behind or placed. I hear laughter. Soft, distant, curling around the trees. Or maybe echoes of long ago. It's impossible to tell. Shadows stretch unnaturally across the clearing. One lingers near a tent, bending in a way that seems almost deliberate. I catch my reflection. In a puddle. It wavers, distorted, watching. The fog hums faintly, vibrating in my chest. Every step I take feels heavier than the last. The forest presses closer. Its presence is patient, silent, and knowing. I move among the tents. The canvas scratches against my arms, brushing skin like fingertips. A tent collapses slightly as I pass. No wind moves it, just a memory of someone or something long gone. I pause near the fire pit. Cold ash glimmers faintly, though the fire is dead. Shapes flicker at the edges of my vision. Stillness presses in. The laughter comes again, closer this time. I strain to find its source. It vanishes as quickly as it appeared, leaving only the rustling of leaves. Shadows bend toward me. Shapes seem to peek from behind the trees. Eyes? Perhaps. Or just trickery of light and fog. The sense of being watched tightens around my shoulders. I step lightly over exposed roots. The forest floor gives a soft, wet crunch beneath my boots. Every movement echoes through the clearing. Every sound seems amplified, deliberate. The fog swirls, teasing my vision. Shapes drift just beyond recognition, between trunks, across the edge of tents. I feel the air thicken, almost alive. The clearing exhales around me. A cold breeze, or a memory of one, slides over my skin. The laughter fades. The fog lingers. I am alone. And yet, I sense the forest remembers. It knows I am here. It has always been waiting. I take a careful step forward. The tents sway gently. The shadows retreat just slightly, and I realize I am not the first to walk here. The fog curls around my ankles. The pale light dims further, and I move deeper, silently, into the waiting woods. The grove opens before me. Fog clings to the trunks, thick and silvered in the pale light. A low hum vibrates through the air, through the earth beneath my boots. It presses against my chest. A subtle vibration, steady like the world itself breathing. The trees sway slightly, pulsing in time with the sound. Shapes drift between the trunks, just beyond recognition. I blink and they are gone. Or perhaps they were never meant to be seen clearly. The hum grows, deeper now, resonating in my ribs and my skull. I feel compelled to follow it. Step by hesitant step, drawn forward. The fog curls around my legs, wet and sticky. Every rustle of leaves, every snap of a twig seems deliberate. The forest knows I am here. It waits, patient. A shadow moves along the edge of my vision. Slow, fluid, watching. I turn. Nothing. The hum intensifies. It thrums beneath the surface of the soil. I can feel it in my chest, pressing, insistent. The grove itself seems alive. I breathe slowly. The air is thick, almost warm, pulsing against my skin. Shapes slip between trunks. Too fast to follow. Eyes? Perhaps. Or only the memory of shapes. I pause. The hum vibrates in harmony with my heartbeat. It is almost hypnotic. A subtle pull guides me deeper into grove. Branches lean inward. Leaves brush my shoulders like a soft warning. Something watches, ancient and still, patient, waiting. The fog shifts, revealing a faint shimmer on the ground. A ripple of light, or perhaps a reflection of the hum itself. It draws me closer, step by careful step. Every sound is amplified. Every breath is swallowed by the thick air. The grove pulses around me, alive, breathing, waiting. I feel the hum in my chest again, deeper now. It presses on my ribs, soft and relentless. The shapes drift closer, yet never touch. The forest is patient, and I am drawn forward. I take another step. The fog curls tighter. The hum resonates through every bone, and I follow, silently, into the grove's waiting embrace. The fog thickens. It swallows the path behind me, curling in slow, deliberate spirals. Every familiar landmark fades into pale, soft gray. Glowing points flicker ahead. Eyes. Countless, silent, observing. I blink. They vanish. Blink again. They are elsewhere. My heartbeat slows against the thick air. Each pulse feels traced, mapped, followed. The forest knows where I am. Every shadow could be watching. I move cautiously. Branches scrape my arms, cold and wet. The hum of distant insects twists into whispers. Soft, almost imperceptible voices call my name, or my thoughts. A shadow shifts in the corner of my vision, not fully formed, fluid, too quick to track. I turn. Nothing remains. The fog curls around me like smoke. I can feel eyes pressing from every direction. Some bright, some dim, but all patient, all waiting. I try to convince myself it is the fog, a trick of light, a reflection of fear. But deep down, I know it is aware. Each step is heavy. The forest seems to breathe, moving subtly with me. Leaves whisper. Twigs snap faintly. No wind. No source. I stop. The eyes retreat slightly, then return. I cannot escape their gaze. It traces my movements. It counts my breaths. A branch bends unnaturally. A pale glow flickers through the mist. It is just beyond recognition. I blink, and it is gone. The forest exhales. A low vibration hums through the fog, touching my chest. I am isolated, surrounded, known. I step forward slowly, each footfall muted by the thick ground. The eyes shift, almost playful, almost patient. Every glance burns. Every shadow presses closer. The mist swirls around me, curling at my ankles, brushing my shoulders. Shapes flicker just beyond comprehension. The forest traces me, silent and unyielding. I feel the weight of countless eyes. They do not blink. They do not speak. But they are aware, and they wait. I take another cautious step. Fog curls tighter, and I realize I cannot outrun them. They will follow. Always. I find at the edge of the grove. A tree hollowed by time. Its interior darker than night, swallowing the fog around it. The bark is rough beneath my fingers. Scratches mark its wood. Faint, deliberate, moving unnaturally. I hesitate. A shiver crawls along my spine. I peer inside. A face, or the suggestion of one, presses from the shadows. It does not move. It does not blink, but it studies me. The air is thick. A cold draft curls around my ankles, brushing the back of my neck. The forest hums softly, almost expectantly. I step closer. The hollow seems to breathe with me. I feel remembered, traced, known. Shadows shift inside the trunk. Subtle, almost playful. I blink, and the face seems to stretch, elongate, just slightly, then vanish. My heart races. The forest around me is silent. Even the hum of insects fades, leaving only the soft pulse of the earth. I hear nothing but my own shallow breaths. I reach toward the hollow again, fingers trembling. The darkness presses back. It is patient watching, waiting. A faint scent, old wood, damp earth, and something metallic, rises from the hollow. I inhale sharply. The face, or the memory of it, lingers at the edge of my vision. The fog curls tighter around the tree. Branches sway with no wind. The forest leans in, silent and expectant. I step back slowly. The hollow remains patient, silent, unyielding. It does not follow me, but it does not forget. I feel the weight of unseen eyes pressing from the grove. The trees, the fog, the earth itself, all aware, all waiting. I walk away, careful not to look back. But the hollow tree has remembered me, and I know it will. Leaves whisper beneath unseen steps. I step onto a narrow trail, overgrown and winding. The fog curls around the roots, thick and soft. Every turn reveals more mist. More shadows. Shapes flee just beyond my vision, dissolving into gray. Something brushes past my shoulder, soft as silk, heavy with intent. I whirl, but nothing remains. The forest breathes around me. Twigs snap, faintly under invisible feet. The hum of insects shifts, rising and falling like a heartbeat. I move cautiously. The ground squishes beneath me. Roots twist like fingers, gripping the earth. Every step echoes too loudly. Shadows bend. Branches sway without wind. A shape drift between trees. Too fast to follow. Too fluid to be human. I pause. The rustling continues, soft and deliberate. It circles me. It waits. The fog thickens. The air presses against my skin. I feel watched from every direction. Every sense sharp, yet deceived. I glance into the mist. Shapes vanish as I blink. But the feeling lingers. Patient. Expectant. A branch scratches my arm lightly. Cold. Intentional. I take a careful step forward. The rustling follows. I hear whispers, almost synchronized with my heartbeat. Leaves curl and twist along the path, tracing shapes I cannot name. The forest moves with me, shaping, observing, remembering. I swallow, trembling. The fog seems thicker at my feet. Every shadow stretches, bending closer. Every shape slips just beyond reach. I step forward again, alone and yet not. The forest breathes around me, alive, and I follow the rustling path deeper, knowing it will not release me. The fog shifts. A cabin emerges, half swallowed by ivy and mist. The door hangs ajar, swaying slightly with no wind. The wood is gray and rotting. Every board seems aware of my presence. The air smells of damp earth and old smoke. I step closer. Inside, faint echoes linger of a life long gone. Shadows flicker across the walls, dancing without source, without sound. A chair rocks slowly, then stills. Cold drafts drift along the floor, brushing my ankles. Every creak feels deliberate, intentional. I dare not step fully inside. The air presses against me, thick and expectant. I feel a presence, silent, patient, watching. A faint smell, wood smoke, or decay, hints at memories embedded in the walls. I glance at the floorboards. Dust swirls where I have not yet walked. Shapes shift at the edges of my vision. The fog outside drifts through cracks in the boards. It carries whispers, soft and unformed. Every step I take seems amplified, drawing attention from somewhere unseen. I pause at the doorway. The cabin exhales around me. A low, subtle vibration hums beneath the boards. The shadows move again, silent and deliberate. I sense the life that once filled this place. It lingers, waiting, not hostile, but patient. I step back. The door swings slightly. The fog curls around it like a living thing. I am outside, but the cabin still watches. Every creak of the wood, every shifting shadow seems to remind me I am not truly alone. I walk away slowly, feeling the weight of memory and silence pressing in behind me. The forest swallows the cabin again. Its presence remains, quiet but undeniable. I continue, the fog curling around my ankles, drawn deeper into the watching woods. The clearing opens slowly, pale light filtering through the fog. And there it stands, a figure impossibly still, impossibly pale. It does not blink. It does not breathe. Yet I feel it turn toward me. I blink. It is closer. A shiver crawls up my spine. The mist curls around its form, swallowing and revealing in a slow, deliberate rhythm. My chest tightens. The air is damp, heavy, pressing against my skin. Every leaf, every branch, every whisper fog seems aligned with its presence. I try to step forward. Frozen. Every movement feels weighted, measured. It mirrors the slightest shift in my posture, as though learning me, reading me. Shadows stretch unnaturally across the ground. The fog rolls along the edges of the clearing. Shapes flicker at the periphery of my vision, but the figure commands my attention. I breathe. The sound is loud, intrusive in the still air. The pale figure does not move, and yet it watches. Every pulse of my heartbeat echoes in its gaze. The clearing feels endless, fog curling tighter around my ankles, my legs, my arms. I realize I cannot turn away without being drawn into its rhythm. A low vibration hums through the earth. The forest itself seems to lean in, mirroring the figure's patient stillness. I take a careful step back. The figure does not follow. But each time I blink, it is closer, swallowed by fog and then revealed again, slow, deliberate, unyielding. I am frozen, caught in its gaze. The mist presses against my skin. The air hums softly. I feel the forest around me, alive, patient, watching. I cannot tell where it ends, where the fog begins. And the figure remains, pale, silent, waiting. The wind moves through the trees, hollow, whispering secrets I cannot understand. Leaves swirl unnaturally, tracing patterns in the fog. I step lightly, careful not to disturb them. The air feels alive, brushing against my skin like fingers. A faint silhouette drifts with the gusts. Soft, fluid. It vanishes when I blink, leaving only the curl of mist. Branches sway against each other, but no wind stirs beyond the hollow currents. A low hum vibrates through the grove, settling in my chest. The forest leans inward, patient, expectant. I pause. The fog wraps tighter, curling around my ankles. Every breath I take is magnified in the silence. Every heartbeat thunders in my ears. The silhouette reappears. It moves with the gusts, tracing the patterns of the leaves. I cannot follow its rhythm. I only feel it, present, aware, patient. The hum grows, resonating in my ribs, pressing softly, insistently. Shapes shift at the edge of perception. Shadows bend. The air feels almost sentient. I step forward slowly. The hollow wind presses at my shoulders. It whispers again, soft, unintelligible, deliberate. I shiver. The fog curls around me, tightening. The forest seems to exhale. Every movement I make is traced. Every sound is noted. I cannot tell if the wind carries the forest memory or if it speaks with its own mind. Either way, it watches and waits. I step further, letting the hollow wind guide me. Shapes vanish into mist. The forest hums. And I realize I am a visitor in something alive, patient, and quietly immense. The wind drifts past, curling into the fog. Leaves swirl, symbols I cannot comprehend. The air tingles against my skin, and I move on, drawn deeper into the watching woods. I find a fire pit, cold and ashen, yet faint embers glow, almost imperceptibly in the fog. Shapes flicker across the clearing, frozen in silent motion, caught between shadow and mist. I hold my breath. The forest hums softly around me. A faint voice calls my name, barely audible, blending with the wind. I strain to listen, but it slips away, ungraspable. The ash is cold beneath my fingers. The smell of smoke lingers, mixed with damp earth and something metallic. I sense I am not the first here. The clearing remembers. Shadows move subtly. A branch leans closer. Leaves curl and twist with no wind. I step back, careful not to disturb the silence. The embers glow faintly again. Shifting shapes flicker at the edges of perception. I cannot tell if they are memories or something else, something that watches patiently. I swallow. The air feels thick, heavy, almost alive. Every breath I take seems loud in the quiet. The fog presses at my ankles, curling around me. I sense a presence. Not hostile, not obvious, but patient, waiting, observing long before I arrived. I move slowly around the fire pit. The ash crunches softly beneath my boots. Every shape at the edge of the fog shifts. Every shadow leans toward me, subtle, deliberate. The voice calls again, softer this time. It merges with the hum of the forest. I shiver, and I know that even in the stillness, I am not alone. I step forward. The embers fade slightly in the pale fog. The shapes retreat, but only just. The forest exhales around me, and I walk on, drawn deeper into the quiet, watching woods. The lake stretches ahead, smooth as glass. Fog drifts across its surface like smoke curling over dark water. I step closer. The air is cold, damp, pressing against my skin. Ripples appear, though no wind stirs. Nothing moves in the water, and yet it shifts. Shapes glide just below the surface. They never surface. Always watching. Always just beyond reach. I peer into reflection. My face stares back, but it feels wrong. Distorted. Unfamiliar. The fog curls around my ankles. It hugs the shoreline, pale and persistent. The forest hums quietly behind me, a low, patient vibration. I take a cautious step. Water laps at the edges of the shore. It sounds hollow, echoing faintly, as though the lake itself remembers every footstep. A shadow flickers beneath the surface. I hold my breath. The reflection shifts again. Not mine, or only partially mine. The mist thickens. It swirls over the water, rising like a second sky beneath the trees. The shapes glide closer. Yet I dare not reach out. The air smells of wet pine and something faintly metallic. A low hum resonates through my chest. The lake pulses almost like a heartbeat. Slow, patient. I step back. Ripples follow my movement, spreading unnaturally across the glassy surface. I realize I am being observed, not just by the shapes below, but by the forest itself, tracing every motion. The reflection shifts once more. Familiar, yet wrong, and I feel the weight of unseen eyes pressing from all around. I move along the shoreline slowly. The fog curls tighter with each step. Shapes vanish beneath the water. Ripples fade, but I know they linger. I glance back at the forest. It waits, patient, alive. The lake exhales quietly, and I step onward, drawn deeper into the watching mist. I stumble upon a trail, overgrown and unmarked. Branches arch overhead, forming tunnels of shadow. The fog thickens here, curling into every hollow. Each step echoes too loudly. Roots twist beneath my feet, clawing at the soil. The forest seems to lean closer, listening. Faint eyes glimmer in the dark. I blink. They vanish, but I know they remain. The air feels heavier. Every breath draws in damp, earthy mist. A subtle hum vibrates in my chest, matching my heartbeat. I take another step. Leaves rustle softly beneath unseen feet. Something brushes past my arm, light deliberate, insistent. I whirl. Nothing. Shadows bend unnaturally along the path, twisting, folding in ways that defy reason. Shapes flit just beyond vision, always slipping back into mist. The trail narrows. Fog curls tighter, wrapping around my legs. I realize the forest is tracing me. Every step I take is observed. A branch snaps softly behind me. Too precise, too timed. I stop. It stops. Whispers drift through the trees. Words I cannot comprehend. Yet they press into my mind, insistent and patient. I move forward again. Roots scrape my boots. Leaves cling to my ankles. The path feels endless, bending back on itself. Every familiar landmark disappears in the fog. Eyes glimmer in the dark again. Countless distant waiting. I am watched, tracked, unable to escape. I take another careful step. The forest exhales. The trail tightens, leading me deeper into shadows. And I realize there may be no return. A broken sign hangs crooked from a rusted post. It points nowhere. The wood creaks softly, or is it movement? The fog curls around it, thick and damp. Shadows shift just beyond perception, bending with intent. A low hum pulses in the distance. Inhuman. Steady. I step closer. The air feels heavier here, pressing against my chest. The forest leans in, patient and silent. Shapes flicker at the edges of vision. I blink. They vanish. I blink again. They are elsewhere. The rusted sign sways slightly. No wind. I realize it is deliberate. Something unseen nudges it, testing, observing. The hum grows faintly louder. It vibrates in my ribs, pressing gently, insistently. Every leaf, every branch, every curling tendril of fog feels alive, aware. I take another step. Shadows bend toward me, subtle, patient. Shapes flit just beyond my vision, always fleeing, always watching. The sign creaks again. I shiver. The hum pulses like a heartbeat. The forest waits, expectant. A soft rustle brushes past my shoulder. Cold, deliberate. I do not turn. I know it follows. I step forward. The fog thickens around my ankles. The sign leans slightly toward me, as if guiding or warning. Every instinct tells me to stop, yet I cannot resist. The pull is subtle, insistent, drawing me deeper into the watching woods. Water trickles along the creek, but its sound hollow, echoing as though from another world. The surface ripples faintly, though no wind stirs. Shadows dance across the water, forming shapes that vanish when I blink. My reflection shimmers, strangely, not quite mine, watching me instead of the other way around. The fog curls over the banks, thick and damp. Every step I take is muffled in soft, wet earth. The forest hums quietly, almost imperceptibly, beneath the trickle of water. I pause. The creek exhales a faint, metallic scent. The water reflects the trees, bent and distorted, branches stretching unnaturally in the pale light. A shape flits across the surface. Quick, fluid, impossible to trace. I blink. Gone. The air presses against my skin. Every breath feels amplified, too loud, too deliberate. Leaves rustle softly, brushing my ankles. Something brushes past my shoulder, cold, intent. I stare into the water again. Ripples distort my reflection. Shadows twist, elongate. I see eyes in the shimmer. They watch, patient, silent. The creek hums along with the forest. A low vibration moves through my chest. I step closer. The water reflects shapes that vanish when I blink. The forest seems alive, tracing my movements. I step back slowly. The fog curls tighter around the creek. The distorted reflections linger, watching, waiting. I walk along the bank, careful, slow. The hollow water ripples beneath my feet, and I realize even my reflection cannot be trusted here. The creek exhales quietly, and I move on, deeper into the forest, where shadows, fog, and silence wait. Swing, sway in still air. The ropes creak faintly, soft and deliberate. No one sits. No wind moves them. Shapes appear at the edges of my vision, fleeting, unfinished, never fully formed. I blink. They vanish. A merry-go-round turns slowly, powered by no one, its motion steady, hypnotic, almost patient. The air smells faintly of rust and wet wood. Leaves swirl at my ankles. The fog curls between the metal bars and broken benches. I step closer. Each footfall echoes unnaturally across the clearing. Shadows stretch, fold, bend in ways that seem deliberate. A faint laugh drifts, soft, distant, nostalgic. Or perhaps memory twisted into menace. I cannot tell which. The swings sway again. A shadow lingers behind one. I do not move. It waits. Patient, silent. The merry-go-round continues its slow rotation. I feel the air thicken around me, pressing against my skin. Every heartbeat hums in time with the motion. I glance at the ground. Footprints appear briefly in the dirt, then vanish, as if the earth itself remembers and forgets. The fog curls tighter, hiding shapes that flit just beyond recognition. Leaves rustle softly beneath invisible feet. I shiver. I step back slowly. The swings continue their silent dance. The merry-go-round turns, and I realize the playground is alive with memory, twisted, patient, watching. I move on. The forest exhales around me, and I am drawn deeper into its quiet, waiting embrace. The lantern flickers in my hand. Pale light dances across twisted roots and fog. And then I see it, a figure. I thought I had lost it in the mist. It mirrors my movements exactly, step for step. I stop. It stops. I breathe. It seems to breathe with me. The fog curls around our legs. Shadows bend unnaturally at the edges of the lantern's glow. Every movement I make is reflected, every pause mirrored. A shiver runs through me. The forest presses closer. I feel its awareness through the mist, patient, deliberate. I take a cautious step forward. The figure does the same. Step by careful step, we move together through the watching woods. The lantern sputters again. Shapes flicker just beyond the glow. Eyes glimmer in the fog. All silent, observing. I realize the forest has learned me. It knows my rhythm, my patterns. It has mirrored my presence. And waits. I try to glance away. The figure mirrors me instantly. A reflection of movement, twisted, patient, unyielding. The fog curls tighter, wrapping around ankles, brushing shoulders. The hum of the forest presses against my chest. Every shadow seems deliberate, following, testing. I move faster. The figure keeps pace. Step for step. I stop. It stops. I swallow. The lantern flickers once more, illuminating the fog. The figure leans closer in silence, patient, watching. I walk on. The forest exhales quietly. The lantern swings in my hand, and I realize I am known completely, and it waits. I climb the hill slowly. Fog rolls over the slope like water, curling around my ankles. Every step sinks slightly into damp earth. Shadows stretch unnaturally across the incline. Branches twist in ways that feel deliberate, almost aware. A low hum vibrates through the ground beneath me. Whispers drift from below, soft, echoing my own thoughts. I stop. They stop. The forest leans inward. Every movement I make feels traced. Every footfall measured. Shapes drift at the edge of the fog. Too quick to follow. Too fluid to be human. I glance upward. At the top, something waits. Patient, silent. I cannot see it clearly. The wind swirls, brushing my skin cold and damp. Leaves rustle, tracing symbols I do not recognize. The hill exhales quietly, the fog thickening with each breath. I move forward, hesitant. The slope is slick with moisture. Every shadow seems to bend toward me. Every shape flits just beyond reach. A low vibration hums through my chest. The forest presses closer. The fog wraps around my shoulders like a living thing. I reach a ridge. The whispers stop abruptly. The fog curls at my ankles. And I feel it. Something waiting at the top, patient, still, watching. I take another careful step. Every nerve is taut. The hill exhales again. And I climb on, deeper into the quiet, into the presence that waits above. The trail behind me vanishes into mist. Every familiar landmark is gone. The forest swallows a path I thought I knew. Shapes shift just beyond perception. Twisting, bending, impossible to follow. The fog curls around my ankles, wrapping tight. I take a careful step forward. The forest exhales quietly. Every movement is traced. Every sound amplified. I glance behind. Nothing. And yet, I feel eyes pressing from the shadows. Watching. Patient. Waiting. The path narrows. Roots claw at my boots. Leaves whisper beneath invisible steps. Every rustle feels deliberate, focused on me. I step again. The fog thickens. The forest stretches endlessly in every direction. I cannot see the sky. I cannot see the ground beyond a few feet. A subtle hum vibrates in my chest. The air presses against my skin, heavy, expectant. Every shadow shifts. Every shape flees just beyond my vision. I realize I am walking deeper, deeper into something ancient, patient. The path has disappeared, leaving only the watching forest. I pause. The mist curls tighter around my legs. A low vibration hums beneath my feet, and I know there may be no return. I step forward, alone and yet surrounded. The forest exhales around me, and I continue into the endless gray. Countless eyes glimmer just beyond reach, faint, shifting, observing. I feel their gaze burn across my skin, constant and impossible to escape. I step forward cautiously. The forest exhales softly. Leaves brush my arms, cold and deliberate. Twigs snap faintly under invisible feet. Every shadow seems alive. Every shape bends toward me, patient, silent. The eyes move independently, yet they all watch me with the same intent. I glance behind. Nothing. I look ahead. Eyes vanish and reappear, tracing my every step. A low hum vibrates through my chest. The fog curls around my ankles, wrapping tighter with each movement. I swallow. Every breath is loud, intrusive in the still air. Shapes shift at the edge of perception. I blink. They vanish. I blink again. They are elsewhere, always watching. The forest presses closer. Branches sway without wind. Leaves rustle faintly beneath unseen feet. The air is thick, alive, and observant. I take another step. The eyes track me. They move, patient, deliberate, mirroring my heartbeat, following my rhythm. I cannot turn without being traced. I cannot pause without feeling their pressure. The forest knows me now, knows my every movement, every thought. I step forward again, alone, surrounded, and I realize I will always be observed. A lantern lies on the ground, swinging gently, though no breeze stirs. Its pale light flickers, casting shadows that bend unnaturally. I crouch to pick it up. Cold metal warms faintly in my hands. The fog curls tighter, wrapping around my ankles and wrists. Shadows shift with the lantern's glow. Shapes move just beyond comprehension. I blink. They vanish. The forest exhales. Every movement I make seems mirrored. Every breath is traced. I realize the woods are alive with awareness. The lantern swings again. Soft light illuminates twisted roots and curling fog. The hum of the forest presses against my chest. It feels patient, observant. I step forward. The ground squishes beneath my boots. Leaves whisper faintly beneath invisible steps. Shapes flee, just beyond my vision. The lantern light flickers across a hollow tree. Its interior is darker than night. I sense eyes watching, patient, still. I swallow. The forest hums softly. Every shadow leans slightly closer. Every subtle rustle is deliberate. I feel the trees breathe with me, alive, aware. I raise the lantern. The fog swirls around the glow. Shadows bend. Shapes flit just beyond reach. I step forward slowly. The forest exhales quietly. The lantern swings in my hand. And I realize I am part of this place now. It waits, patient, alive. A new cabin emerges from the fog. It's with gray, softened by moss and time. The door hangs slightly open, inviting, yet hesitant. I step closer. The air smells of damp pine and old smoke. Time feels suspended. Every shadow holds its breath. Inside, silence dominates. Shadows move quietly across walls, sliding over floorboards without sound. I sense a presence. It waits, not hostile, but patient, aware. A chair tilts slowly, then stills. Faint light flickers across the room. The air brushes against my skin, cold and deliberate. I step inside carefully. The fog drifts in through cracks, curling around my legs. Shapes linger at the edges of perception. I blink. They vanish. I blink again. They are elsewhere. The cabin exhales with the forest. Every creak, every subtle vibration feels deliberate. I feel watched, traced. The presence follows, silent and unyielding. I walk through the doorway. Floorboards moan faintly beneath my boots. The shadows shift ever so slightly. I feel the weight of memory here, of lives long gone, and the quiet patience of whatever watches. I pause. The fog curls around the cabin. I breathe slowly, deliberately, not to disturb the silence, not to disturb the patient observer. I step back outside. The cabin lingers in the mist, alive with quiet expectation, and I continue onward, deeper into the forest, where the fog watches and waits. Fog curls around me, thick, heavy, alive. It coils around my ankles, brushing my skin with cold intent. Shapes drift at the edges of perception, just beyond recognition. I blink. They vanish. I blink again. They are elsewhere, tracing my steps. Every movement I make is followed. Every sound is noted. Leaves rustle softly beneath invisible feet. Branches sway with no wind. I step forward slowly. The fog exhales, curling tighter around my legs. Eyes glimmer faintly in the mist, countless and patient. They watch, always watching. The air hums faintly, pressing against my chest. I breathe carefully, deliberately. The forest leans inward. The fog moves with intention. Shapes drift closer, but never fully reveal themselves. Shadows bend around me, folding and stretching unnaturally. I feel small, insignificant, observed. The fog curls higher, brushing my face. A subtle hum resonates through my ribs. I sense awareness everywhere, in the trees, the ground, the very air. I take another step. The watching never ceases. Every glance, every movement is traced, and I realize I am part of the forest's gaze now. The fog exhales quietly. I step forward again, alone, surrounded, and I move deeper into the endless, watching gray. I reach a clearing bathed in pale moonlight. The fog thins, curling at the edges like smoke. Everything is still. Shadows retreat slightly, folding back into trees. The forest exhales quietly, almost satisfied. The air presses gently against my skin. I feel the pulse of the earth beneath my boots. Shapes linger at the edge of vision. They do not approach. They do not flee. They simply watch, patient and quiet. I step forward slowly. The moonlight glints faintly off dew and twisted branches. Every sound is muted. Every breath echoes in the stillness. The clearing feels endless, a place between the forest and the sky. The fog swirls at my feet. I realize I was never truly alone. A subtle hum vibrates through the ground. I sense eyes tracing my every movement, countless patient, observing. I turn, and that's when I see it. A shape, pale, almost indistinct, yet unmistakable. The forest exhales around it. Shapes retreat, fading into the fog. The clearing is silent once more, but the figure remains, watching, waiting. I stand alone in the pale moonlight. The air hums softly. The forest breathes, and I realize I have arrived at the end. But I was never truly alone.